Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this week's vlog. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the work of our legal and privacy team. While some might consider them a behind-the-scenes team, they play a really important, critical role in our organization, and even more so during COVID-19. Their work has certainly been in the spotlight as of late with the recent restraining order against Kevin Johnson and the court order against all organizers of advertised illegal gatherings and rallies breaching COVID-19 public health orders. These actions not only support the safety of our staff, but will also protect the health of Albertans across the province. So joining us today to talk more about the work our legal team is doing are Tina Giesbrecht, who's our General Counsel, Legal and Privacy, and Shalee Kushnerick, Associate General Counsel for Legal and Privacy. So Tina, first question for you. What are some of the new issues that have been raised during the pandemic regarding enforcing health orders?
We have seen an unprecedented number of legal matters that involve the Public Health Act and other legislation that we have been navigating to respond appropriately to the pandemic. And I think the Public Health Act itself has really been the pivotal piece of legislation that we've had to really test the parameters in a pandemic situation. We've had a lot of experience with enforcement, but not in the context of the large scale public enforcement that needed to happen regarding the CMOH orders that were issued. So we've seen the application of the legislation. We've noticed some gaps. We have had to go to court to get some clarity on some of the provisions. So I think it's given us an opportunity to see how it works in practice. And it's really been challenging for our teams. So our environmental public health officers, our inspectors, and our medical officers of health, we've all had to work very, very closely along with the legal team to ensure that we were doing the right things to enforce the public health orders that were needed. And it's not something we've done before because we've never had such a large scale issue before us. So we've previously been dealing with just one-offs here and there. And this was some pretty large coordinated activities that need to happen. So it's been a terrific learning experience for us. And I think the other challenge that we haven't faced to the degree that we did this time was the safety concerns of our staff. So we're very fortunate to work closely with our protective services team to help us navigate. And then we've forged some really, really good, strong relationships with our partners in law enforcement as well. So I think it's just been very challenging, but through it all, we've developed a lot of great teamwork, and we've been able to get some really, really good results for the organization and for Albertans. So I think overall it's been challenging, but incredibly rewarding as well, because we think we've had a really positive impact on our ability to respond.
Thanks very much, Tina. I think what you're pointing out to is really the importance of teamwork, as you said, and really the importance of partnership. So Shalee, coming on to you, can you walk us through what went into getting a restraining order against Kevin Johnson, and how does it protect our staff?
Yeah, so in order to get a restraining order, we needed to make an application to the court, setting out in detail what our evidentiary basis is in order to get that kind of relief. And it's a type of injunctive relief that has a relatively high threshold to meet in order for the court to grant that. So we needed to establish that Mr. Johnson posed a legitimate risk of harm to AHS and its employees based on his, very threatening, harassing, and intimidating behavior. So we worked with our partners in Safe, Healthy Environments and Corporate Investigations Unit to put together all of that evidence. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the lens that you look at it, the threatening behavior was quite substantial. So it really laid the foundation for us to make that successful application. And in the end, AHS was granted that restraining order, which itself is relatively broad, which was our intent. So essentially, he can't intervene with the public health inspectors when they're fulfilling their duties. He can't contact, video, or photograph any AHS employees or board members. He can't attend at any of their homes. And he can't continue to engage in that hateful speech on his social media platforms. And that includes soliciting the personal information of AHS employees and board members. So their names, contact information, addresses, that sort of thing. And that was a really important piece when it came that he was doxing or wanting to dox that type of information, which is to publicize that. And the order contains the police enforcement clauses as well. So what that means is that the police can intervene if there's a breach of that order. So, it's one of those legal tools that we can use to ensure the safety of our staff.
Shalee, I wanted to ask you a question about what it actually takes to bring an injunction forward, because tight timelines, you didn't have a lot of notice. I can't imagine the amount of work, but maybe describe that to us.
Yeah, so it's an incredible team effort to get that kind of past the finish line. We had 3 to 4 lawyers working on it at any given time, around the clock, and then of course we had 1 to 2 paralegals helping out as well. So it takes a considerable amount of effort to draft the documents and then to coordinate the appearance with the court. So it really was a full-scale team effort, and it takes quite a lot of skill for the team to get that past the finish line. So it is quite a huge accomplishment.
Tina, all of this recent court action has really put AHS in the spotlight. So how has all of this media attention impacted the work of you and your teams?
I think that, we have come into the spotlight, as you said. Normally our work is in the background and it doesn't garner the kind of attention that we've received this time. But I think we have been contacted by most jurisdictions across the country to assist them with some of their activities that they are engaging in. So even our court materials have been shared broadly across the country with other health authorities who are considering similar actions or wondering how they can approach similar issues in their provinces. Unfortunately, some of the behavior we saw in Alberta was very extreme, but there are similar cases across the country. And so I think that we've been able to help out in those jurisdictions. And, we've made some new law. And when you do that, those precedents will live on and hopefully be of use to health authorities now, but also in the future if we face similar sorts of issues. So I think it's been a terrific experience to showcase our work, and the lawyers involved have had a lot of great feedback and accolades across the country. So I think it's been a really great way for them to get some recognition for the work that they do. And I think most importantly, we've had terrific response from the AHS staff who felt that we really did absolutely everything we could do to protect them. And I think for Albertans as well, some of the orders that we were able to obtain really reinforced that the majority of people are following the CMOH orders very carefully. And they were pleased to see that the few organizations and individuals that weren't were held to account for that in the courts. So it was great to be a part of that.
So Shalee, coming back to you, and I think Tina alluded to this, one of the more recent efforts was our preemptive injunction against those who organize, promote, or attend events that breach public health orders. So wanted you to explain to us what kind of impact this type of action is having.
So that injunction in particular, as Tina was alluding to, has had a much more profound impact than I think we ever would have thought when we were, coming up with the strategy on how to deal with enforcement for the issues that we were seeing. And as Tina mentioned, I think it's been a really cool experience for the team, because it's a very rare scenario where you have almost every other province in the country coming knocking at our door to try to figure out how we did it and to kind of model that in their jurisdiction. So it was a very, very neat experience to kind of share and allow them to leverage the work and the great work that the team did do. So the order so far has resulted in 4 arrests and those corresponding contempt hearings, one of which is being heard this morning. And that's why the mastermind behind all of this, Jen Jackson, couldn't join us this morning. And, it has had even a preventative aspect to the order, in that our Safe Healthy Environment team has been able to work with some organizers of different public gatherings to ensure that they are in compliance with the CMOH orders and with the injunction, so that they can avoid any sort of penalties that might arise under that. And that was really what it was all about, to try to just protect the public during the pandemic.
Wanted to ask you about, we're talking a lot about enforcement, but honestly, I'm talking with you daily, Tina, is it? On so many issues. So wanted to hear from you, what are some of the other legal issues that have arisen as a result of COVID-19 beyond enforcement?
Okay, well, it's been the full range of issues. Last spring, when the pandemic first hit, we were involved in a lot of advice just around testing and around, learning more and more about COVID and how to manage that within our province. So we had a lot of new and novel issues that arose for our health law team. Then, of course, we've had a number of COVID-related claims that have come through staff. And so we've had some labor and employment matters that are focused on new and novel issues regarding COVID. The litigation that Shalee has been speaking of came later, and that most of that has occurred this winter and spring, and we expect that may be coming up for the foreseeable future. But there's been a lot of complexity around CMOH orders and ensuring that they are properly applied within our workforce. Numerous privacy issues have arisen with the sharing of information and ensuring that we're complying with the Health Information Act. So I think the full range of legislation that we operate under has really been tested in various scenarios. We've had some very interesting work that we would never normally be engaged in, such as the critical care triage protocols, some of those matters that we just don't deal with on a regular basis. So it's been amazing. Even the commercial transactions have been impacted. So we've had so much to do around personal protective equipment, and we've got some very tight turnarounds on agreements and RFPs in order to allow us to respond. So I would say the entire legal and privacy team has been engaged in COVID matters for the last 15 months pretty steadily, in addition to the regular day-to-day work. So it has been, it's been very intense. And I think we have, again, we've learned so much about how our regular day-to-day work impacts on the organization and how quickly we need to be able to respond when matters are changing hourly and new and novel issues are coming up. And there isn't even a lot of research across the country that we could lean on for some of this. So I think we've been at the forefront on some of the work, the research that we've had to do, and obviously the court applications that we're speaking about today. But it really has ranged across the entire legal and privacy team.
Thank you so much, Tina and Shalee, for joining me today and really profiling all the incredible work your team is doing. Legal and privacy are really leading the way provincially and nationally. So thank you. And we're so proud of the great work that you're doing. And I just also want to acknowledge Jennifer Jackson, who Shalee had mentioned was unable to join us, but she really has helped lead the way in the injunctions to keeping us safe. I want to reiterate that any threats or hate speech towards anyone at AHS are absolutely unacceptable. Your safety is our priority, and we will always take action against this type of behavior. If you feel there's an immediate threat, please take action and contact local law enforcement if needed. You can report any incident to protective services when it is safe to do so, and report all workplace incidents, including injuries, patient to staff aggression, and urgent safety issues through My Safety Net, accessible on Insight. I know that any type of threat is upsetting and frightening, and I encourage you to reach out to the Employee and Family Assistance Program, EFAP, at 1-877-273-3134 for confidential support 24/7. All of AHS leadership stands with you during this challenging time. We are all in this together. Thanks again for watching and for your continued efforts to support and provide quality care during this pandemic. And we'll see you next week.
Together, we do amazing things every day.